Hello everybody, welcome back to Green Chat. We're going to take a closer look at an upcoming MMO, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. My name is Cleeze, and let's get started. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Green Chat. This is a place where you guys can ask me questions, and I can give you my opinion to hopefully formulate your own on Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Today we got some questions from you guys, so we're going to jump into those pretty quick. Again, if you don't quite get your fix for Pantheon off of Green Chat this week, there's some links in my description. I recommend you go check them out to get more Pantheon in your life. So with that, let's jump into your guys' questions. All right, guys, so let's get this started. Sorry if you can hear some noises in the background. My dishwasher's running kind of far away, but so anyway, let's get this started. I can't stop it, by the way. I can't stop it. So let's get this rolling. So Gregory's asking a question. Gregory's asking, one thing I'm wondering is if the world itself will require partying, or will there be dungeons like Black Rose Keep and such that require party play? I would rather the actual world be dangerous. It looks like they are outside in this video and partying to kill these orcs, but still, So the video he's referring to is a different video of mine where they're outside killing orcs. I think it's like the second or third stream. So, will the game require partying? Absolutely, Gregory, it will. That's hands down. The world is super dangerous in general, even outside of dungeons. So this is a persistent world. There is no instancing and stuff like that. So you can almost treat like running through the desert or running through a forest or running through like the plains or something or wherever you might be as sometimes as, if not more dangerous than some dungeons and vice versa and stuff like that. So it's just the environment's a little different, and then usually it's not as condensed. So out in the open it's less condensed. In dungeons it's much more condensed. So if you're really on a grind to get experience, inside a dungeon would be great. If you're out in the open, it's much easier and safer. You can see your dangers and stuff like that, and that's usually the benefit of being outside. But sometimes that might not play out exactly like that depending on where you are exactly. There are some outside zones that, at least in the past, at least in EverQuest, have been absolutely treacherous. It's like crazy terrible because things have crazy aggro ranges, and then things will call for help, and it just creates a big mess. Anyway, yes, partying will be required inside dungeons, obviously, and then outside in the world it will require grouping as well. But if you're a class that can kite and stuff like that, this gives you the room as well. If you wanted to solo, you know, kiting is where you attack it and root it and snare it and stuff like that to take on any challenge you want to by yourself versus being in a group. So definitely, even in the outdoor environment, grouping is definitely needed and recommended. It's recommended, good sir. All right, next up we have a question from AK907 Silvers. Long comment, but basically nit and gritty of it is AK907 is asking my opinion on corpse runs. So himself, AK, is a dad with 2 kids, full-time job, and these days is like, ugh, totally feel you, bro. And he doesn't want easy mode, but he doesn't want to sit there and waste all of his time on corpse runs also the impact that would have on newer players. You know, let's say you're playing this game, you get up to level 15, you die, and you're stuck with a corpse run, and because there'll be no maps, you have to run and find your body, you potentially get lost, you die again, and dang, that stinks. So that's really the question, is what do I think about corpse runs? And it needs to be intense, but at the same time it needs to have an out, basically. I've been thinking a lot about corpse runs because it's been coming up a lot, and I think a good way to compromise would be at a certain level. So obviously during the trial you will not necessarily have to do a corpse run. You'll spawn with your stuff on your body, maybe below level 10 or something. I think that would be the most advantageous way to do it, because a lot of times what you'll do is you'll get to level 5, you really don't understand the concept of corpse runs, and you'll go exploring because you'll be like, I can go explore. You go off and die, and now through that exploration, which you should be rewarded sort of to kind of want to explore at a very low level, maybe like your little area, like the city, different zones, like right outside the city, and you know, like you want to see a dangerous area and how cool it might look, and you'll be penalized for that if you had to do a corpse run potentially. So I think it would be good if you spawn with your stuff on your body in the beginning, and then later down the road, obviously you'll be warned with a pop-up or something like that saying, hey, you're going to have to start doing corpse runs now. And one thing I've been thinking about is if you're at a higher level and you die, you have to do a corpse run. You spawn at your bind point, you have to do a corpse run, hands down. If you're in a more rounded group, you'll have reses and stuff like that to get yourself back. Now let's say you die, let's say you're like, hey guys, I'm out of here for the night, and then you die right before the night ends, and you're like, oh my gosh, dude. And then you're like super deep in a dungeon, and it took you hours to get there, and this is like your precious playtime, like you only play twice a week or something, and now you have to spend your entire next session getting your corpse back potentially, because not a lot of people traverse the area you died in because it's so deep into some dungeon or something. So I would say in that instance it would be cool if you had to do a corpse run no matter what at a higher level, but after some kind of window, 5 hours, 2 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, there'll be like a local graveyard, so to speak. They did this in EverQuest, I think in Plains of Power at some point, but, or maybe that's where you're, when you did corpse summon, that's where your body spawned. I can't remember. Not to say I bring back tombs or anything, I'm just using this for a reference, or not tombs, but, you know, the books of transportation. But, you know, a certain time goes by or elapses, like the next day, your body will be in that graveyard, easily accessible if you could make it to that zone to retrieve your corpse. I think that would be reasonable. But with that, I think at the end of the day, what you need to achieve with corpse runs is to make this game very intense, to make your decisions really matter, and make it very interesting when you're trying to traverse a dungeon and stuff like that. The danger will feel real. Your puller will, you know, have the pressure on, and those pressures create a, you know, like you're achieving something type environment, and it makes the game very rewarding when you pull it off, and exciting and fun. And the negative side to that is when you die, you have to do a corpse run, and that is the negative side. But you can't really have a high great side or a high awesome, you know, you can't really raise the bar up without having the polar, you know, the polar effect of it sucking when you die. So I think there really needs to be corpse runs. There really needs to be penalty when you die. But after a certain time window, maybe alleviate that to make it easier on people who play less than others, or you die right at your end of your play session and you're tied into playing longer, or you feel like you need to because you need to, you know, you got time windows to get reses, to get your experience back and stuff like that. So I don't know, something to think about. They're definitely going to be focusing more on this in alpha and beta, and they're going to hash it out there. But that's my opinion. I think it would be cool to not have, you know, corpse runs at lower levels. As you get higher, you die, you will have corpse runs. And then after a certain time window, your body will appear in a graveyard somewhere, easily accessible if you can reach that zone. That's what I think is a good compromise to most of those things, I think. And then maybe have like a purchasable item. Now that would kind of ruin Necros. So yeah, never mind that. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? You can post in the comments below, see what you think about corpse runs. I think they're awesome. If you have no idea what a corpse run is, basically you die, your body stays on the world, you have to run back to it and loot it. Nobody else can loot your body. You can type consent to another player, and they can drag your body for you. They can like drag it, you know, like your dead body to a zone or something like that, but that would be the extent of that. And then there are certain classes that will have corpse summons, I'm assuming, very likely for them to be able to cast a spell on you and summon your corpse to your body, your alive body, if you are in the zone that you died in. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I think that's cool. But let's move on. All right, so next up, guys, we have a comment from Muddy Feet. Muddy Feet's commenting, what are your thoughts on streamers, the Hive Leader, etc.? Personally, I think the Hive Leader and Co-Carnage were the best, and the one with Koopa Troopa 787 was messy, and I kind of feel like it left the audience with a bad impression of Pantheon. So it's kind of taboo-ish to talk about other, especially at least on Twitch. I don't personally Twitch at this time, but it's taboo to do that. But this is YouTube, you know, whatever. So I'm just gonna kind of give you like a beat around the bush what I thought, and you know, everybody's got their own taste. That's really the thing with Twitch, is everybody really has their own flavor. Anyway, so Koopa Troopa, I think his stream was kind of, what you're referring to is kind of messy, is there was definitely a lack of engagement with him and the dev team. He also, his connection with the game, I don't know, there was something definitely missing. I feel you there. Maybe he's just not a very expressive person, which is kind of weird if he's on Twitch, but whatever. Not really weird. I guess people have their own flavor, you know? Twitch is like, you get into one person and that's what you like. If you like that, that's what you like, and how he plays, whatever, you know, I don't know. Maybe like the music he plays in the background, who knows? But yeah, there's a clear disconnect between him and the dev team, and there was also a strange disconnect between him and, like, there was not a lot of emotion, like excitement for Pantheon. He did mention at the end that he had been going on a long stint of streaming, like he was super tired or something. And I feel like if I was a streamer, and I mean, I can guarantee you, if I was doing a stream for Pantheon. Not to say I'm going to, but if I did, I would probably take the day before and the day of and the day after off of work, like 3 days off of work, blow some leave time, and then I would be like super rested and like meditate like 16 hours. I'd be so jacked for that experience, and I would be asking the devs, I would be pestering them that they would probably suck at the game even more than they do. Not to say this, like, I mean, job is good. They don't suck at the game, but they do, you know. That's a terrible comment. I almost want to take that back. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. I would just be so into it, and so I'm even getting excited right now just thinking about it. It's stupid. And that was not even there at all. And that's just going to happen. That's what Twitch is. And what Pantheon is doing with the Twitch thing, I do agree with. You know, even bad press is good press in the sense of MMOs almost, or games in general. Just to get your name out there, flooding out there, however you do it, it's good. And I like what they're doing with the streams. I like what they're doing with the Twitch. It's very creative. It's a great idea. And it's keeping us in the loop of what's going on. They're showing us features. They're showing us concept. They're showing us proof of concept. And that's super awesome. And the conduit they're utilizing for that is Twitch, and they want to get as many streamers out there to cover as many different, like I was saying, different audiences. So personally, yes, I am with you on liking the other streams better, but that doesn't mean that there's some people out there that didn't like that one better. You know, maybe that's what they preferred, and that's what's important, is that you have coverage, and you don't feel like you're favoring any particular part of your crowd. You can get the whole gambit, and then sometimes you're not going to like it. And I wouldn't feel bad, or I wouldn't be afraid of any bad impressions left from Pantheon, because Pantheon stands apart. You know, Koopa Troopa 787, that's Koopa Troopa. He got in there, he did that thing with the dev team, and that's awesome. But that doesn't mean that's what Pantheon is. And I wouldn't, people are, you know, when you're closely invested in something and you're very close to something, any type of tarnish you feel like goes towards it feels like it might jeopardize it and brings concern, or you're like, this kind of leaves a bad, like you said, bad impression. And I wouldn't perceive it as such. I would perceive it as that it's them spreading the word about Pantheon, and it wasn't really exactly for you, and that's why they have multiple streamers. But that's how I feel. Any press is good press, man. Sort of. I don't know. Maybe not any press. Like, you know, like Pantheon's canceled press would be terrible. Anyway, it's not canceled. Probably somebody's going to cut that out of there and be like, oh my God, that's what Green Chat's saying. Not really. So yeah, sorry, I'm kind of tearing on him with this one, but I think it's pretty important because a lot of people, I think, have the same feeling, Muddy Feet, and a lot of people maybe like, what? They let this guy on and not those guys, you know, whatever. And I think it's just a matter of perspective and opinion. So let's close the book on this one and move on. All right, so next up we have a little mention from Coach T. Coach T is going on with regards to power creep and stat bloat. To kind of compress this, because it's a long explanation, and I really like what Coach T said here. I didn't even think of this, but I guess they've already done a number squish in Pantheon to bring the range from like whatever was 100 down to 10, and then ratios off of that. So power creep, see what you guys think about this. I mean, I think this is really cool. So let's say like you get a bracer that's like 10 AC, 1 strength, 2 strength, and like 10 stamina, and then you'd progress. Let's say this is like a top level bracer. I mean, that's not going to be top level. Maybe it will, but super doubtful that'll be like a top level bracer. Let's just say it is, and then you're, you know, max level, and then instead of, you know, progressing further and then getting a bracer that doesn't have instead 1 or 2 strength, that has like 10 strength and then 50 stamina, you could get a bracer with like 2 strength, 15 stamina, and then another stat like charisma, or some versus poison, or magic, or something like that, or has higher AC or plus hit points on top of the stam or constitution, or stuff like that. Basically give you more stats, because each class isn't just going to be based off of 3 stats. I mean, it may, but basically just add more to the stats and not increase the stats so much, as they can, and in as many areas they can. I think that'd be a cool way to really stop power creep. And I think Saicred mentioned to me about this, is where you could instead of vertically increasing gear as far as just basically increasing the strength on each item, more horizontally project the stats across the gear to be like, you know, 1 strength, 1 agility, 1 dex to across, you know, the gear versus just increasing the stats. But I thought I'd bring that up because I had mentioned it last time. Power creep. You guys brought up some ideas. Thanks, Coach T. I think it's a great idea. And Saicred is also mentioning that. Saicred's a Twitch streamer, Pantheon radio guy, YouTuber. If you want to check him out, you know, I'll put his link in the video too because I'm bringing him up here. And then he was very helpful with this as well with the power creep comments. So, yeah, so that's the power creep. You guys can comment on that, see what you think. See what you think about power creep. If you don't even think it's a big deal, I think it's a huge deal. Power creep is just really a huge deal, and I really like this idea of horizontally improving gear, giving it more stats or more types of stats versus just increasing the base stat. Anyways, yeah, I'll move on. Thank you, Coach T, and let's move on. Okay, so next up we have a question from Anthony. Anthony's asking, is there going to be factions in the game? Referring to the first question, I couldn't see anything about that. I have no idea what referring to the first question was. I couldn't see anything about that. But is there going to be factions in the game? So yes, there will be a type of faction. It will be, you know, it'll be underlying in the lore of the game. So certain races will be friendly with each other. They might have like trade agreements and stuff like that, so you guys can speak each other's languages when you create the game, or excuse me, when you create your character. Like if you create a human and he's allied with dwarfs, which is, you know, maybe likely, maybe not, who knows. You could maybe have a little bit of bonus towards your dwarf speak, and you know, common tongue would be the humans, or like the elves are allied with the Archai or something, I don't know. And you know, they'll so that would be the link, would be the languages potentially, and then the religions potentially, and then you guys can freely visit each other's cities. And that'll be kind of be like your factions. Your factions won't really be like, you know, like these guys versus those guys, or maybe there's multiple these guys versus those guys, like 5 different factions, and doing like going out and killing a dark mirror would improve your standing or increase something somewhere. I mean, obviously it'll increase your rep with some other people. So yeah, I guess there is totally factions in the game, just not what you're totally used to, or not totally used to, but what you're typically used to in MMOs is where if you go out and kill somebody, you'll get faction hits all over the place, and usually factions would be associated with most creatures in in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. But it's not going to be something that really like floats on the surface. Like, you know, you're running down the road, you're with your faction, you run into a different faction, and then let the clash consume. That really isn't going to be a thing. When you're running out in the world, no matter what you're associated with, you will be friendly with any other player character and stuff like that. That's another person. Now, they may be hanging out near some guards that you're not friendly with, and then they'll start attacking you, even if you're in a group with that person. So you got to be careful in that regard, but that's really as far as factions goes. And that's something interesting. Like you could create an ogre, for example. I'm not even sure if this is where you're going with factions, but you can create an ogre, for example, and go kill a bunch of people that humans hate, and kill a bunch of people that these people hate over here, and just keep going at that, and get yourself to the point where your faction's so high. I mean, this will take forever to do. It's probably ridiculous, but somebody will do it, guaranteed. And you can freely walk through cities and stuff like that. But the thing that's painful about that is in the human city, for example, there'll be like a faction for the Wizards Guild, a faction for the Druids Guild, and you got to raise your reputation with all these different ones. And then there'll be like a city guard, you got to raise yourself with that one. So that's what factions in this game is to Pantheon. And that will play out for questing, that will play out for your religion, if there is a religion. I think there is. And as far as like it'll definitely come into play with your epic quest to get your really epic spells, or your epic weapon, or anything epic in the game. Usually is tied to factions in some way, in raising certain factions or plummeting certain factions, stuff like that. But that is factions, fine sir. So they're in the game, but maybe not as you expected. Hopefully that answered your question, Anthony. Thanks for playing. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so our next question is from Lego the Hut. It's more of a comment. It's not a question. It's not even Pantheon related. It's more Green Chat related. And I thought it was worth mentioning. So his comment is, man, I like your first videos, but they are going way downhill. Just present the information without getting cute. Extend the duration of your videos with fluff is just a turn off. You seem to be trying too hard. So the interesting thing is, I appreciate the comment, Lego, because honestly, why wouldn't I? But what's interesting that I find with Green Chat, and myself in particular, is the more I'm doing this, so in typical, I'm a very, what would you call it, eccentric, goofball, weirdo, silly pants, is what I'm like in real life. When I first started Green Chat, it really has an interesting way of putting the rails on your personality, because it is nerve-wracking for some weird reason to sit here in your own house comfortably looking at a camera and talk. You know, I'm sure you hear every YouTuber say that in the very beginning, and then the more it goes on, the more loose I get, and then it kind of gets more free flow, and it just kind of creeps, is what that would be. So it's not, I'm not even really, what that would be is not me trying hard, it just happens. And then with my life lately, because I have a full-time job, all that stuff, I'm not really trying to explain this. I just want perspective to be there, because I know Lego the Hutt's probably not the only one. And with this video, I felt like I was very important really quick, mostly because I'm on a time crunch again this week. But it doesn't really matter. But I wanted to cover the topics I wanted to cover the topics I did, but they were very long. And the longer a video gets, the less time I have to edit it. So I have to go with a take and then just keep going and going, even though I might not like it or appreciate it, and then I can't cut certain things out because then it doesn't work right. So anyways, that's why that happens. At least in the beginnings, when I made those little fluffy things in the beginning, I'm like, man, this video is so long. Why not just grab people's attention with it? Or, I mean, I get turned off when I see a video on YouTube that's like 40+ minutes and you're like, let's talk about this. And you click on it and you're like, okay. And then you start off with this goofballness, and it kind of sets the stage to be like, okay, maybe this won't be painful the whole way along like a stupid lecture. That's what I was thinking with that anyway. So my intention was not to extend the videos. The longer the video gets for me, it's more time consuming and much more difficult to chew through. And I'd like to keep them shorter, but that just stops not working out. This one, it will be shorter, obviously, because I've caught up with the last one. But anyway, but I thought about this a lot. Initially, you know, I was like, you know, this is kind of who I am, and the channel might even go further in this direction. But then, I mean, if I really had to objectively look at your comment, yes, I do need to stay more on point, because that's the point of this, and there's going to be plenty of people from your perspective that feel that way. So one compromise I thought about, and I didn't do it in this video because I didn't feel like it was appropriate, but in my further videos, if I do anything stupid at the beginning of the video, because interestingly, stupid things grab people's attention, and I gotta, like, I think, I mean, I'm not trying to get subscribers, but it's kind of fun, you know, get subscribers, not really cool, but people were like, oh, I'm subscribed to you just for this stupid reason, you know, and it's like, okay. And if that got somebody into Pantheon or something like that, then, you know, good on that. But I was thinking about putting a timestamp in my description. If I do anything stupid or dumb or cool or whatever, I'll put a timestamp in the description for gentlemen like you, Lego the Hutt, that want to skip that and just go right into, all right, let's get into this guy's question, or let's get into the topic at hand. So you can just jump over that little intro business. Maybe that'll be a good compromise. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'll toss the timestamps in there and see what you think. You can let me know. Let me know what you think. Anyways, you know, Lego the Hutt, I responded to his comment. He responded back, and he's like, hey, I know I didn't mean to sound so harsh. This is who I am, and this is how I feel, and I wanted to be honest with you. So I appreciate that, man. And we'll try to get going from there and make it better experience for all, because really, this is my channel, and you are my viewers. And anybody who comes in here, I want them to see me and it be a good reflection of what is to come with Pantheon, not so much just see me and that's it, this is Green Chat inclusive, but to also see me and then have that reflect well on on Pantheon Rise of Fallen, you know, because that's the whole purpose of this channel. All right, guys, and with that, we're gonna call it there. If you guys like what you saw, consider liking and subscribing to get any notifications for future uploads that I do. If you have any comments or questions for me, please leave them in the comments below. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at ~Cleeze. You can send me messages there. You can tweet at me. I've been tweeting a little bit more lately. I'm trying to tweet more. It's a thing. Tweeting's a thing. If I upload any videos, you should tweet out. I retweet a bunch of stuff. And I think I'm gonna start asking if I get enough of you guys to jump on the Twitter thing. I could ask you like, hey, do you guys want to see a video like this? Want to see a video like that? And maybe interact that way for things you guys want to see. that I put out. And one more thing. So next week is my son's birthday, which falls on the weekend. It's his second birthday, so I only get the weekend to make these videos. Time's pretty cramped, so I probably won't have a green chat out, not this Monday, but the following Monday. So I guess the next Monday there will be no green chat. But my next green chat I intend to do is, I've seen a lot of comments on Ashes of Creation. So I kind of want to do like a Pantheon versus Ashes of Creation. Not to say I'm not gonna go in depth in Ashes of Creation hardly at all, just mostly how it relates to Pantheon. It'll be more robust in the Pantheon directory, but how it compares to Ashes of Creation, and then basically why should you play Pantheon, or why should you play Pantheon over Ashes of Creation. Now there seems to be this like stigma of you can only play one MMO out in the world or stuff like that, but really I don't think they're the same type of MMO. I feel like they're totally different MMOs, obviously, besides the name and the complete team that makes them and all the concepts and stuff like that. But I think Pantheon's going for a totally different type of game that Ashes is. Honestly, Ashes doesn't seem very appealing to me, but I'm doing some research on it, and we're going to get a little Pantheon versus Ashes Creation next video, which will be probably 2 weeks from now. So with that, guys, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you again really soon.